lights go dim, it's time to find out what's within. Behind the camera, there's so much more. With AndyGames, let's explore. Behind the camera with AndyGames, meet the streamers, learn their names. Off the screen, who are they? Tune in now, don't delay.
Hello everybody and welcome to Behind the Camera with AndyGames. This is the podcast where I interview people in the world of content creation and beyond with the sole purpose of getting to know the person a little bit better behind the camera. In this episode I sat down with Jeff Revilla. Jeff is the visionary founder of Poduty Live LLC, a groundbreaking podcast theatre and live venue based in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, just 25 minutes from downtown Pittsburgh. With over 20 years of experience in digital marketing and a decade each in podcasting and live streaming, Jeff expertly blends technology with creativity to foster engaging, community-centered events. He is also the host of the trivia podcast, Stuff I Never Knew, where he challenges listeners with fun and intriguing questions across a wide range of topics. His podcast not only entertains, but also educates, encapsulating his passion for sharing knowledge and connecting with audiences in unique ways. At Poduty Live LLC, Jeff continues to innovate, providing a dynamic platform for live and virtual events that inspire and entertain. Here is the interview. Jeff, welcome to Behind the Camera with AndyGames. It is a pleasure to have you on the show. How are we doing today?
Doing well. Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to this.
Of course, yeah, I've been looking forward to this as well. I'm a big fan of what you do and what you have built, especially with Poduty, and I can't wait to get into talking about that. But first of all, take us back to the very beginning. So you have 20 plus years of experience as a digital marketer. So how did you get into this field, and then how did that lead into your current experience in podcasting? Like, did you see like a gap in the market from digital marketing to podcasting, or take us back?
Well, all the way back, I was 14 years old in 1990, right? And I wrote a paper in my 8th grade, like some sort of business class, that I was going to someday own my own skate shop and skateboard park, and I was going to be awesome, right? That was me at 14. And fast forward to the year 2002, I did that. I opened a skate shop, I did manufacturing, I had a skate park. But what I also knew that is, as the internet was becoming this thing, that there was tremendous opportunity to exist within small towns. And the reason you could exist in small towns is because you had the power of the internet to do that. So back in 2002, I'm making videos for the internet. I have a message board. We had message boards back then before social media. I'm doing all kinds of this different content, different digital media. And I'm realizing that I'm my own media company. Like, I don't have to go to the television station and pay $3,000 for a commercial or get on the radio. I can do all this through the internet. And while I'm there packing orders at about 2006, 2007, I got this Father's Day gift of the first color iPod. It was a big deal. Back then you had to like download podcasts to your computer, go to your computer, refresh, plug in your iPod, download all your new podcasts, and then you could take it with you and listen. And I'm at work and I'm listening to Marketing Over Coffee and the Beancast and 6 Pixels of Separation, all these original marketing podcasts, and I'm getting a tremendous education for free. I'm building on the things that I'm already doing, and every day I'm getting new tips and tricks, and I'm learning about new tools and techniques. And I fell in love with this whole digital medium. And this was the answer to your question, taking you way back. And how I got to this point was, I thought, okay, if they're doing it, if they're pushing the grounds of what is media, if they're showing me new ways to communicate with people, I now have this knowledge. It's my obligation to give that back to the public. Take it, make it my own, and give it back. It's kind of a model that I'll use throughout probably the rest of this interview. It's I really believe in this DIY mentality. I grew up punk rock. I grew up skateboarding. I really feel that when you take something, you have to absorb it. You have to take what's already out there, bring it in and make it your own, and then give it back to the world for them to make it their own. So, 2011, I started testing the waters with podcasting. I did a marketing podcast, and it really wasn't until 2015 where I found found the niche that will put me on this path for the last 10 years.
That's incredible. Like that's honestly such a journey. And the first thing that I can think of is, you know, your early 2000s, you have your own skate shop, you're in manufacturing, and like that's the perfect time to do it. Like the height of like skate punk, new metal, just the music that it kind of was involved in that, Tony Hawk Pro Skater and everything. Like it just was the perfect time. And like I can see, honestly understand how that fed into the digital media, and like obviously being at a time before what it is today, where it's so accessible to everybody, whereas you found that perfect little gap, that served you well for like 20 years at this point.
Oh yeah, like I couldn't have been born at a better time, because you're right. Skateboarding peaked about, you know, the peak of skateboarding was like 2007, and it kind of just, it also bottomed out really bad after that. But also the stuff that I was doing in that skate shop, that was better than the education that I got 4 years of college. The colleges weren't teaching digital marketing and
Yeah.
metadata and title tags and keywords and Google ads, and they weren't doing any of that. So that 8 years that I was immersed in it, in my own skate shop, in my own little world, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day is basically how much I was working back then. That was the most incredible education. I walked out of there. Whenever I closed that shop down, I had 2 job offers the same day that I just said, "Hey, this is what I can do. This is what you're doing. Here's where we can take it." And, you know, it just became like this amazing experience, timed beautifully. Like I couldn't have been,
Yeah.
you know, if I was born 4 years earlier or 4 years later, I might not have been able to ride this wave for 25 years.
Yeah, of course. And it really does speak to the whole DIY mentality in terms of uh, marketing yourself and sort of everything that you learn getting back out there, because there's always going to be so many people who wish to be in that position, but they don't have the right tools. And I think that's like where digital media, digital marketing, podcasting, everything like that it's such an important tool. It's so slept on. Like I know podcasting does get like a little bit of a reputation sometimes where it's particularly like for younger people, it's just two friends have great banter together, so they decide to make a podcast, and that's like the stereotype.
Right.
But at the same time, like if you have something to talk about, it's gonna resonate with somebody. It's gonna resonate, and that could like then become like an incredible snowball effect, and it can do a lot for people. Like I know for me, it's done a hell of a lot for me personally. Like the confidence speaking on camera to people, it's just yeah, like it's such an incredible thing.
Yeah, I mean, hosting a show, interviewing, it's a skill set that you develop, you learn, and just like a weightlifter trains by lifting weights to build a muscle, well, hosting is a muscle that you learn, and you can turn it on and off. I can continue to talk without even thinking about what I'm talking about, because what I'm talking about just needs to come out of my mouth so that it's, you know, interesting for the show. But I don't know what I just said. That's this skill set that you learn from being on a camera 1,000 times. It just happens, and it's because you practice, because you put in the repetition, because you do it over and over again. You're able to get a brand new skill set that you never had before.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2011, whenever you first dipped your toes into the world of podcasting, now that was like you're talking early days of podcasting, like general, before it was really in the mainstream like it is today. Like what was that like, you know, putting yourself out there, and what was the sort of reception like for what you were doing?
Yeah, I'd also say I had no clue what I was doing. I was just trying to emulate these people that I saw, and I was able to record MP3. And back then we were using Skype and some sort of Skype plugin. I think it was called Pamela's, maybe.
Yeah.
It was the only way to record audio over Skype that I could figure out. And I didn't even know about RSS feeds. We were just publishing MP3 files of the internet, like, hey, come find our podcast. And but we pushed the boundaries of what we knew, and that's the thing I've always liked most about podcasting and the podcast community is, you know, hey, almost everybody goes through this journey of figuring it out.
Oh yeah.
And how do you record? How do I record my way with the equipment I have? It's different than the way you record, and but everybody respects that journey. And when you're on it and you're you're pushing boundaries and you're asking questions and you try something new, a new setting, a new setup, microphone position, this microphone, the lighting all around me, and all these little things add up to something great somewhere down the line. But it takes all those little repetitions, over and over again to get to a point like this. I can tell you, I didn't sound like this in 2011. I didn't, I didn't have the lighting around me. I wasn't on a green screen back. Like, oh, that's bad lighting right there. That's because the evening light is behind me. It's starting to mess up with my green screen. But like, I didn't start here, right? It took years to figure out how to sound decent on a live stream, how to get a good internet connection, streaming properly, and getting the lights around you. And the first time was just in my basement. I was probably it's probably sounded like I was talking into a coffee can, like, hello, digital marketing.
Yeah, and like I think that is a sort of podcasting 101, isn't it? Like everybody starts somewhere, and I'm sure if you were to go back 14 years, look at your first episode again, you'd be able to see the comparisons like night and day within the first like 2 minutes, easy. Like even like I've been doing this 10 months, and I still I actually rewatched the first episode I did, and I was like, ooh, like yeah, like it's just those like little tiny things, like we say, you learn with experience of doing, like how you conduct yourself, the things like the lighting and everything, background and sound quality is like a huge one as well. And I think that's always seems to be the one that comes last for people, is the sound quality.
Yeah, I almost say start with that, because even if you're planning on doing video, you can have okay video, but if you have bad audio, it's lights out. No one's going to stick around for that. You have to kind of really focus on getting audio good. It's great to record and have video, and then you have all these extra assets and things you can work with. But in the short term, just every day, try something a little different. Try a little setting. Sit in your basement by yourself. Record something. How does that sound? Does that sound good to you? Play it for somebody. How do they think it sounds? And then just keep working until you develop your own sound.
Yeah, absolutely. Now your original podcast back in 2011, the digital marketing, like, does that still exist? Is that anywhere that can be found? Just out of curiosity.
No, not at all. And I don't want anybody to find it either. I had a great co-host. We were in the automotive industry at that time. We did like 4 out of 5 episodes together, and then she immediately gets a job with Ghirardelli Chocolate Company, like a major, as the marketing director for like a major chocolate company out in San Francisco, and just left. So it kind of ended abruptly, but it probably also ran its course of what it should have been. But she was great and well talented beyond what we were trying to do for the podcast. So she went on to have a great career in marketing like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, of course, like that. And marketing is somewhere that it's like an industry that everyone needs marketing, like no matter what. And like podcasting's a great entry into that, like for real, because whether it's somebody just talking about whatever, an industry could be like, I like how you talk. Can you talk about this? Can you do this? Like, it doesn't necessarily matter if podcast is one genre, how you present yourself on the camera or on the microphone or anything like that. Like, and it's such like a fascinating thing. I think it's certain things that people don't really realize sometimes whenever they go in to watch podcasts or listen to podcasts.
Yeah, it's all marketing, right? You're positioning yourself. You're showing the people, who you are, what you can do, what services you provide. Some testimonials. You're really promoting yourself, even if it's an entertainment show. You're convincing people to come back for some reason, week after week after week. It's all marketing. That's all you can do with podcasting, is just convince somebody to come back or download another episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, so obviously you showed us your old iPod Classic.
Yeah.
Does that still work?
I don't know. I should try to plug it in. These were famous for the batteries kind of going after a few years, but it actually is engraved. I don't know if you can see. It says 2007 on it.
Oh yes.
So I can kind of prove I was there. I was at least listening to the podcast in 2007.
I think I had mine. I had an iPod Classic from like 2008, and I think it was about 2015 it finally gave up the ghost. Like, I had it like I never really took it out with me anymore at that point because I had like my phone and everything. But I would have always plugged it into an old speaker that I had that was like it was a relic at that point because it was one of the only ones that had that same connection, that same
Mhm.
port,
It's
and it
the
was the
fat
only
one.
thing. Yeah, exactly. Any iPod Classic users will know, but it was the only thing I could have. I only thing I had at the time that had that same jack that I was able to plug it into and listen to music on a speaker. But eventually, it just died, and I think it's a good friend of mine as well who had like the same around the same time had it. His lasted nearly 10 years, and
Yeah.
they were an absolute. The fact that they no longer are in commission anymore. It's a sad day. But like you say, that was the only way to get your music, your podcasts, audiobooks, everything. And like I remember even like the menu on those old iPods, like it had music, videos, audiobooks, podcasts, games. Might have been another one or two things, but this is now me digging into the memory banks here.
Yeah.
But
It was
like
actually training for TikTok because you had to scroll with your thumb. So
yeah.
it was like, yeah, you're learning how to do TikTok without even thinking about it.
That's a good point. Yeah. Let's
You had to scroll around in a circle, like, oh, okay, swipe up, swipe up, swipe up, or even maybe for Tinder, one of those.
well, that's long-term marketing right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, because even then back then, like it was all just iTunes, wasn't it? Like everything that you wanted was on iTunes, even like podcasts and audiobooks. Like I know obviously there were other platforms, but that was like at the forefront of it all. They were like the sort of innovators of this. So did you do all of your podcasting before through iTunes, or were there other platforms?
there were other apps. By the time my trivia show came around, that was 2015. That's the one that's still active, the longest running show that I do. By then, smartphones were more in play, and so the apps were. But back in 2011, you either listened on your desktop through an iPad. I think maybe iPads back then, maybe,
Yeah.
but most people had iPods. And I want to say, I don't know if there was the Microsoft Zune, Zune was like a competitor, and they may have had, but almost all the directory was the iTunes store at that time. Like
Yeah.
you had an MP3 file, you had your RSS feed, and your goal was to get synced with with iTunes. Then other directories really started to emerge after that. Certainly by the time I was really understanding everything in about 2015, I was on Libsyn, which I'm from Pittsburgh, so I'm supported the Pittsburgh podcast host, and there I was adding other destinations. So you could add in your Pocket Casts and all these other ones where you could just sync the different directories. So, and a lot of directories just started grabbing the iTunes, the Apple podcast feed, and that's how they just built their directories. It was an open API. They could like, okay, we can use your directory. Great, thanks.
Yeah, it's amazing how like far and easy it is now to how far it's come and how easy it is to like access and just upload a podcast to multiple platforms now with just a click of a button. Like you'd upload something to be scheduled to be released 4 weeks later, and all of a sudden, come that day, it's on like 5 different platforms. Like it's been made so much easier right now, I'm sure.
Yeah, and even easier. This is something I was afraid of, and I did just switch podcast hosts. I went from Libsyn to Transistor in December, and unbelievably easy it is to change your podcast host. I had no clue. I was panicking, like I don't want to re-upload all those episodes. You literally verify your email, and the
Yeah.
new host copies everything, and then you're done. It's so stupid simple. And I was so mad for like waiting and waiting. I really liked Libsyn, and I wanted to give them the chance to really rebound and come back. But I think they went in a very different direction where I'm more DIY independent,
Yeah.
and Libsyn's kind of going this larger corporate advertising route that kind of I get it. You go where the money is, and
100%. Yeah.
but I'm doing a different direction. It's still a great product. They still have the best stats probably in podcasting. But I need to do other things now. I got something behind me we'll talk about
Oh yeah.
that needs more flexibility.
Yeah, of course. But on that, in terms of providers, like I recently um put everything that I have onto YouTube, but like I started doing it all manually. So I think my first 25 episodes I put up manually, and this was all like within one go. I had been doing this, I think it was maybe the start of the year, I put it all up on YouTube. And all of a sudden, I didn't notice this at the time, but I had it all in a playlist marked as a podcast, and then it said upload RSS feed. And I was like, okay, it didn't work last time I tried, so I'll try it again. And here's me thinking, okay, this is just going to upload from the next scheduled upload that I use through creators on Spotify. No, it uploaded every single episode. So I had now like all of a sudden over 50 videos on my YouTube, and I was like, oh, I have to really sift through these, make all the old ones private because I didn't want to like kind of mess with the analytics and everything. And yeah, it's that's where changing your provider, or at least updating your provider, can go a little bit haywire
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, but between the pay providers, like I was with Libsyn, and I had I have my email verified as in the RSS feed. You tell your new host, "Hey, this is my email."
Yeah.
They send you an email to verify it, and then they say, "Okay, you're with us now," and that's it. That was literally how you move podcasts.
Yeah. So in terms of like a paid provider like Libsyn, how does that work then in comparison to like a provider like Creators for Spotify, for example?
Well, Creators for Spotify, I believe, started out as Anchor, and Anchor
Yep,
was like a
that's
free
right.
service. I think Creators is probably still free.
It is,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
They may have a premium version. I don't know. I'm so not interested in Spotify, but they're a force to be reckoned with now. Um, but the what you do is you have a home base or a source of truth for all your MP3 files. So when you get an audio file, you upload that to your podcast host. They create the RSS feed. You go around and tell all the apps and providers and hosts directories that, hey, when this RSS feed updates, I have a new episode.
Yep.
Put it into your app for my subscribers to get. And so having the paid place, now you're in control, right? You own all this content, all this data. Typically, I've heard horror stories from Spotify users that if Spotify doesn't like your podcast, maybe you said something off color, maybe you said something that goes against their terms of service, they can just knock you out because you're not
Oh,
paying them anyway. They're
yeah,
not going to
true.
take a risk on a lawsuit. They'll just shut you down and you lose access to your show. Now, hopefully, the paid providers that you're using will say, hey, we got a warning, or we got a takedown notice. We
Yeah.
got some sort of complaint that needs addressed. You're our customer. We're going to give you 7 to 10 days to respond.
Yeah.
And then we'll either delete the episode or you can go to another host. Hopefully that happens with your host. And that's one way to protect yourself too, is you don't want to lose 5-10 years of content because of one joke that somebody complained about. You want to be able to have the control over your catalog to be able to, hey, I'm just going to move this or I'm going to delete that. Let me handle it and make it right.
Oh, okay. That's interesting because I know a few people who've used like paid providers before, but I didn't realize what the actual difference was between them. But like that makes sense with the protection in terms of that, because like you say, you're a paying customer. You have that kind of right. So you need to see where your money is going in terms of that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just a great way to manage getting into the directories too, because a lot of them now are one push click. If you click, hey, this is my feed, it'll reach out to like a dozen plus directories, and then from those directories, other directories scrape those directories. So now,
Mhm.
your 50 submissions to different apps and directories probably get you into like 300 different directories. Whereas if you just do on YouTube, then YouTube is your home base. YouTube is where your audience is. That they're not going to. I don't think YouTube allows you to RSS feed your podcast feed into iTunes or
Yeah.
into Spotify. But when you use like a Transistor or a Libsyn or a Buzzsprout, all those will give you the link to, or the RSS feed to put into the apps to get listed in all the apps.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense because with YouTube, it's it sort of goes like the other way. You can, so like for example with like, because I use Creators by Spotify, but what that is you put like your RSS feed into these other apps, but you feed it back into Creators. Like you get given a link to put into Creators, and that's where that kind of feeds in. But YouTube is like you just get your RSS feed, plug it in, and then it goes like a separate sort of stream in comparison, which I think is a little bit better, to be honest. But no, it's interesting. So I never really truly knew how it worked. All I knew is that like I have these links, it all goes click of a button. I'm up on a few platforms.
It's magic.
Yeah. So yeah, so you did allude just a few minutes ago to your background at the moment. Though, for those who are listening, what Jeff has behind him in his green screen is a live stage with microphone set up, which is your live podcast studio, Poduty. Did I pronounce that correctly? Please tell me I did.
Yeah, I love the way people all over the world say it. I hear Poduty, Poduty, Poduty. I want it to be. It should be a fun and playful name, right? You should say it and chuckle like you're a kid on the school playground at recess and you just said a bad word for the first time, like Poduty. Like it's a lot of fun. It's a short little word. When you hear duty, everybody smiles and chuckles a little bit. And it's fun. It's part of what this place is. It's a live stage for podcasters to do live versions of their show in front of an audience, not only in-person audience, but live streamed around the world too. So you can sell in-person tickets. We have 40 seats in the theater, and you can sell virtual tickets. So you can be the size of Madison Square Garden or the Royal Theater, I think is the one closest to you.
So what was the sort of what was the idea behind this? So like tell us about the process of getting the sort of studio together, because I think this is like most podcasters' dream, is to be able to do it live in front of people. I know for me personally, 100% one of my goals. Like how did you get the idea to sort of build this and sort of create what you have with Poduty?
Yeah, we're going to rewind a little bit back to 2015. This is when I had my trivia show, and it started on a platform called Blab. And Blab was one of these first 4-in-the-box live streaming services that had this incredible social element to it, where you could push live, and the way that it informed everybody, you'd have 30 to 50 people converge on your room in the first 30 or 3 minutes and just blow up your room when you have a live stream. So I used to do a trivia show, and I'd have 8 contestants per episode. So I didn't have to book anybody, but I'd have 8 people per episode, and they would battle it out over 3 rounds of trivia till one person remained. And while I'm doing this, I'm realizing this is an incredible social element. This is something different than just podcasting. We're kind of pushing the boundaries of collaboration through, people were in Portland, Maine, and Canada and South America, and we're doing this show together in real time as a community and enjoying each other's company, but we're all spread out all over the world, but we're making a podcast. I'm like, whoa, this is heavy. And so I started to think about this because Blab ended up collapsing under its own weight. It grew real rapidly. It had no business model, and it just collapsed under the expense of running all those servers. And when it went away, the people who were there, you'll hear people still talk about Blab, left a hole in their heart. Like it's a place we all miss, and we reminisce about the good old days of Blab. And this idea of this performing live, performing in front of people, became like this idea I had in 2017. I called the Infinite Seat Theater, where I was going to do this from like my basement, or if my friend was having a party, why don't we just live stream from their basement door, like a raging kegger, and we'll do trivia and, throw things at each other and just see what we could do and still call it a podcast. And I wanted to reach more and more people and have more and more social elements. And then I had booked a friend of mine opened a coffee shop and said, hey, why don't we do coffee and I'll bring a taco truck, and we'll have free tacos, and they do other things too, like ice cream and stuff. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. Let's start doing it. So, we set up all the cameras. That was part 2. Part 1 was we had booked the first day for March 30th, 2020. was going to be the first live episode.
Ooh.
But the timing was bad, a little bad on that one. We had to cancel because COVID came marching home.
Yeah.
And
Ooh,
so
that's
so
rough.
in the meantime, he had during that had opened up a coffee shop, and I did this first show live, and it was like outdoor on the lawn because we're all outside then, and there's no indoor meetings, and there was like 35 people showed up, and they're playing along. I'm recording episodes of the trivia game show, and I'm just seeing all this like come together where people could go out for a night out and enjoy a podcast live. They could
Yeah.
have fun with friends and family, and it's not one of these Taylor Swift concerts that costs $1,000 a ticket. We can have fun for like $5-10 a night. And I took that concept and I went to Podfest, which is a podcast conference, and I presented this live, the rise of the infinite seat theater, and it got really good attention. I got really good feedback on it. People are like, whoa, this is something that you're thinking about. And I'm like, yeah, I've actually been thinking about this for like 3-4 years now at this point. And for years, the idea kept growing and growing. And about this time last year, after acquiring things like these orange chairs you see I bought from a Catholic school for $2 a piece, and the stage came from a karate school, and I started piecing all this stuff together over a couple years, and they were just filling up my basement. And I started looking at buildings, and I said, look, I'm 48 this year. In 2 years I'm gonna be 50, and I'm so freaking tired of talking about this. Right? Is this a thing or is it not a thing? I
Yeah.
got to know, but I don't want it in my head anymore. So this time last year, after looking at about 30-40 buildings, I found the perfect building. I love the space that we're in. We set up the stage and the chairs, and the chairs are like in a C shape around the stage. And I'm giving myself 2 years to figure this out. Right? By the time I'm 50, it either works or it doesn't. If it does, hey, great. I'll be very happy, and
Yeah.
I'll be taking a lot more vacations, because it is also very lucrative when you own the whole process from creating an event to fulfilling the event, and then you're selling the tickets and all the production services in between. It's
Yeah.
all in one place now. So I got till I'm 50 to figure it out. If it doesn't work, hey, no skin off my back. I figured it. I went for it. I tried it out, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, of course. And I absolutely love the concept behind it. Just of how it came from a simple idea from a show that you have done for the last 10 years, and it's like, why not bring that live? And the best part about it is that it's available for any podcaster to come and book a show. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, yeah. I have no contracts. I have no minimum ticket guarantees. My goal is to get butts in the seats and turn this room over and over, and really share the experience of a live podcast with people. So when you come in, you're like, hey, I want to do a show. Okay, let's talk about it. What does that mean? What does it look like? We'll build you an event landing page. We'll help you sell all the tickets. We handle all the processing online. We will record the event and produce the event for you. We give you back the recording. So, you get the recording. We take no ownership over your content. And then at the end of the night, when all that's done, we sit down together. I go over the dashboards with you. Here's how we sold tickets. Here's how many we sold. And we simply split the door 50-50. That's it. There's no risk to the content creators, which I think is so important, that trying to tell people like, hey, if you were to go to like a hotel or a bar, they may charge you, a hotel's going to charge you hundreds of dollars to
Yeah.
rent a room. And then you got to pay for the setup. You have to pay for, the AV. And if you want video, do you want a stage? Well, that's another grand, right? It's not something that's in reach for most podcasters to just have an event like that. But this is a place they can walk in through the front door, walk on the stage. I hit record, and boom, we have a whole production ready to go.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think that it has to be like a one of a kind thing. Like, I can't say I've ever seen anything like that. I've seen people doing live podcasts before, but they've either been in like arenas or, well, just, yeah, arenas or other types of venues that are kind of fitted out. But I haven't seen any that are specifically tailored for podcast recordings. Like, would you say it's a one of a kind thing that you've created here?
Yeah, I can't verify that nobody has tried this before, because there are elements here of a comedy club. There's elements here of a small TV studio. Like, there are things here that do exist, but having it as dedicated for live podcasting is very, very unique in the entire world. I haven't found like a duplicate service like this. And so I'd like to claim it like, hey, this is the first podcast theater ever opened, but there's elements here that exist from other places. So maybe, it might be, I know I'm very early, and I know I'm one of the first to ever have done this. But if you want to say this is the first podcast theater in the whole world, I'll go by it.
There we go back to the whole topic of marketing. It could very well be a good strategy in terms of that.
And you talk about, these live shows at these big arenas. And if you look at what you and I are doing right now, it's a Sunday afternoon for me, Sunday evening for you.
Yeah.
And we're in our home studios, we're recording. But what's the next step between here and our home studios and a large arena or a theater like a Madison Square Garden, right? There are no middle ground. So if you're a small independent podcaster and you dream of like, oh, one day I could be like Whitney Cummings or Pat McAfee or Joe Rogan or Kill Tony podcast and fill an arena, there's no stepping stone. There's nothing from here to there. And I think what I'm doing here is that middle ground. It's getting people out of the comfort of their home, getting people to perform in front of an audience. And then when they develop that skill set, when these larger podcasts come through town, just like comedians need opening acts, just like musicians need opening acts, they don't perform the whole show.
Yeah.
They're going to need podcasts to open up their show, just like music, the local bands or local comedians open up for comedians and musicians. We're going to need this. I know that this is the natural evolution, because one podcast isn't going to be able to sell $100 ticket for a 60-minute show for much longer. The value isn't going to be there. Somebody's going to come along and be like, oh, hey, we're going to do 3 podcasts for a 2.5-hour show, and it'll be $80, right? So there's going to be this competition of time and money. Like, what's the best value? If I can see 3 podcasters for 80 versus, one for an hour for 100, I'm going to probably go to the one that gives me more value. And that's the way that these bigger shows tend to evolve. They need to fill time. An hour really isn't long enough anymore, but it takes you an hour to get to the venue, a half an hour to get your seat, and maybe some food. And you're there a half an hour early. Then the show's only an hour. Then you have to sit in traffic for an hour and then a drive home for an hour. You invested 7 hours of your day for this 60-minute show. It doesn't make sense. So they're going to have to increase the length of these live performances to justify the value.
Yeah, and I think like with the live ones that I've seen before, I think that it's more or less a full 3-hour show, but it doesn't necessarily have that podcast feel, because you hear a podcast and you can go back to it on or whatever platform you listen to it on. But if it's live, it's more conversational, more audience interaction, which is good in its own way, because that's what you kind of pay for that kind of live experience. But there's so much of it that you can't go back and rewatch, because that's just a one night only type thing. Whereas obviously with your service, you record everything and then that's for the creator to do what they will with it. They can upload it to everything they can, and I think that's a good way of doing it. So in terms of like a show, say like a creator comes to you, they want to book a show. Is it just that sort of thing? It's like, okay, this is the format. I have a 90-minute interview podcast. What is the sort of, what can we kind of work here? And then would that full show then be advertised as 90 minutes in this theater? This is the podcast. Is that the kind of like sort of bill that goes out really?
Yeah, I tell people 90 minutes is the sweet spot, especially for where we're at and what this theater does and how it holds people. 90 minutes, your show could be 60 minutes, 45 to 60 minutes seems to be the average show time. Then you build in maybe a 15-20-minute Q&A. Then you build in maybe a 30-minute meet and greet where you get, because there's other things that happen when you perform live that you don't get when you upload an MP3 file and then come back 7 days later and look at your download numbers. Like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's more download numbers than I had last week. So that's good, right? But when you're performing live or recording live, for that same podcast release, you're going to see people right in front of you. Like you said, you're going to see them laugh. You're going to see them chuckle. See if they're on their phone the whole time because you're boring them out of your minds. You're going to get that real-time feedback as a host. But as the people sitting in the audience, they get to see how your brain works and how you make jokes. Like I think you said that too already. You're already saying all my lines. But you're going to get another level of experience that you don't get on your morning commute with, listening to them in your ears on the way to work or working out. You're going to see like all that magic happen. And then afterwards, shake their hands, thank them for another episode. Hey, I found you guys about a couple months ago. I was in this crazy place, kind of dark, but you guys were so funny and made me laugh. And I really, those episodes got me through some tough times. I just want to come out tonight, see the show, and thank you for what you did, or whatever the reason is. You gave me great tips. I got a promotion. I'm making $50K more. Thank you, thank you. And those interactions never happen when you just download an MP3 file and listen to the audio. So there's a whole new element getting introduced here for podcast fans and podcast hosts.
Yeah, of course. Then in terms of, say, the audience, you say you have 40 seats in your theater. It may be difficult for you to tell, but like in terms of distribution of tickets, how much would be more for people who know the podcasters versus people who just so happen to see the listing on like your website, for example, and think that looks like a fun night out, let's do that? Or is that one of those things that's kind of hard to answer?
It's not too hard. Right now, it's probably 80-20 in favor of the shows. I have a little bit of a fan base that we're building up. We're coming up on 1 year in June. So right now, just like small venues, like small music acts, typically it isn't the venue that draws the audience. It's that band that draws the audience to that venue. So just like that, 80% easily is the podcast, the local shows. They're building up their audience, their fans, they're promoting it. Hey, our fans, come watch us live at this theater. And the other 20% are, my fans and family and friends and people who want to show up and support local podcasters. They come in too, but the vast majority is driven by the podcast shows and the podcast hosts.
Yeah. So really good market on their part then as well.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's no different than I remember being a kid and going to see my friend's band at a local venue, and everybody who was there was everybody who knew the people in the band.
Yeah.
Like it was friends and family. They promoted the show for the venue, and they brought the audience into the venue. This is no different. When you think comedy, you don't think I'm going to go to the Improv. No, you say like, oh, Whitney Cummings is in town. I want to see Whitney Cummings, and she's playing at the Improv. So, the talent is really the draw, even for all these venues. They are the ones that sell the tickets. The best that you can do as a venue is market and promote the event for those people. But they're the reason people are buying the tickets for the talent, not because they like the venue.
Yeah, of course. But even still, that's good that even though you have like 20% of people who are like, okay, what's on in the venue tonight? What podcast is this? Is this, and then they're kind of basing it off that. So it's still kind of a nice little balance in terms of the type of people you're getting in the door. Like I just think it's such an incredible idea. It's something I would love to do myself. I'd love to just be able to, like I said, like that's always been a dream of mine since I've been doing this. Like I'd love to do this live one day, because I used to do it live on Twitch, but it's not the same. Like it's not the same. Like doing it live on Twitch is no different than like what I'm doing, what we're doing right now. We're having a live recording, but
this is probably you don't have to have this. This is what I like to tell people. Like this is something that was in my head for 7 years. I had to get out of my head, and so I built this. It was kind of like the Taj Mahal of independent podcasting, right? But everybody in their town, they probably have libraries that have media rooms or like public performing rooms, and they're not that expensive. You can probably rent them $50 to $100. There's bars and coffee shops and Sometimes even music stores do events where, and the music stores do sell microphones, speakers, and stuff. So there is a tie in the music stores. You can set up a show in local venues, without jumping in. If you don't have a Poduty Live podcast theater in your backyard, you do have tons of other
Yeah.
opportunity to do live shows and sell tickets and test the water, try to find people in your area. Maybe you do shows live at different venues for a year until you see. That's something I probably wish I would have done better. Whereas I'm really strong online and doing virtual events. I can announce a virtual event like, hey, I want to do a podcast fest and I need 30 podcasters. I bet you I can fill that up in 3 to 4 days, right? I'm like, so I thought the real world was like that too. But when you open a local theater, it's not. Like, all my connections are global. They're not
Yeah.
necessarily in Pittsburgh. So trying to find the Pittsburgh people at first is very difficult. So the route that I'm telling you is maybe, test the water, get a PA system, get a way to record that audio. That's a couple $100. It's not a huge investment. Then you go to maybe you rent a place, or maybe a bar will pay you on a Tuesday night. Come in, they'll give you $50. You're like, oh, that's great. $50 is great for my first show.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll do a live podcast. They'll give me $50. They'll probably feed me too. It's double bonus. And then I'll get the recording and I'll start figuring this out. I'll start practicing so that when it is time and I have followers who are following me, when I have networked with other podcasters who do this too, maybe, we split a bill and we do 2 shows the same night, you open, I close, and we'll flip flop at next time. And now you're building up that local network, which is really where I wish I would have focused prior to this. I was so focused on getting this open that I really missed out on networking locally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's one of those things when you spend so much time marketing yourself and your product digitally, it's kind of almost, there's only so much you can do in that sort of world in comparison to real life local marketing with people and businesses around you, kind of thing. And like, I kind of think it's hard to sort of strike that kind of balance. Obviously, now you're in a position where you can do more because you have the means. You can, like, hey, I have this, like, I have the studio here, who isn't podcasting these days as well.
Yeah. Like, I just got an email about 2 weeks ago from work. I'm on a main street in the town that I'm in, a couple doors down from me. She said, I didn't even know you were here. I was like, we are neighbors. Like the real world is so much more difficult to connect with than it is, putting, doing a Facebook ad. I can reach 6,000 people by the end of tonight. But to meet my neighbor, and also in fairness, they have very daytime hours, and I'm an evening business. Like when people do shows during the week, they're doing them at 7, 8, 9 o'clock. So we never crossed paths. But she's like, hey, I just realized you're next door to me, and we never even met.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that, like, especially like where I live as well. Like where I live small town Ireland, like maybe 10,000 people in the town. Everybody knows everybody, and sometimes people know your business before you even know it yourself. That kind of small town thing. But when you have that kind of online presence, you sort of you get exposed to so many different people across the world that then like you say, these kinds of things happen where it's like, oh, I've been connected with my next door neighbor the entire time, but did not know that they live next door to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's crazy. So you have mentioned about your trivia show that you've been hosting for the last 10 years. Your podcast, Stuff I Never Knew, a trivia game show type podcast. What can you tell us about this? Because I think the concept of it is incredibly interesting. We've touched on it before, but the concept of it, brilliant, very, very unique. Like, talk us through how this came about and then where it's led you to today.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it's not just me telling you. Usually the feedback from the guests, I sometimes think my guests have a better time than the fans, because it is such an immersive, like 25 minutes where it's 3 players from around the world. They call in and battle it out over 3 rounds of trivia. That's as simple of a definition I can give you. But in that 25 minutes, I'm making you second guess every answer. I'm throwing curveballs the whole way. I put you in the hot seat. There's a buzzer round where you can lose points if you buzz in incorrectly. It is a fast-paced, stressful 25 minutes. And luckily, the last 75 episodes we've recorded for local television. So if you're
Oh,
in
wow.
Pittsburgh area and you have Armstrong Cable, channel 100, look for you can pull me up on the TV guide thing and you'll see stuff I never knew. And it airs all the time on rotation throughout the days. So you'll get to see this trivia show and this silly nonsense that I started as a fun game. It's evolved to the point where, there's video and there's, pop-up graphics and little things that happen, sound effects that we didn't have when we started just as a blab show back in 2015. But the evolution has been a ton of fun. It's a great hang, especially if you ever want to be a podcaster and be a guest on the show. I typically use podcasters as guests because I know they have good equipment. They probably have good audio, good video, and it plays well for TV.
Yeah, that's the hope anyway, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh,
No, I love that format. Like it's just pardon?
A boy can dream.
And when it comes to like, is this just like general trivia or is there like specific? How do you kind of like write a typical show before you play it out live?
Yeah, the typical rule for me to use a question is there's no question that I ask that when you hear the answer you wouldn't know it. So
of course,
but that little simple rule also makes you second guess every question I ask because you probably know most of the answers.
Yeah.
But because I'm interweaving all these little other elements, it becomes like, oh my God, this is so stressful. And I'm just asking you like, what color is orange? And you're like, what? I don't understand. And so the deer in the headlights is kind of a reference that we use here a lot is when you're driving down the road and you see a deer and the deer just freezes. That's kind of what I try to do with the show. And it's all done in good fun. Nobody ever is made to feel silly or stupid. We have a good laugh and we have a good time. And some people score negative points, and those are the fans' favorites. Like they tanked so bad, they buzzed in so many times and just kept getting negative points that they ended up with a negative score. Those are my favorite guests because they went all in and they gave it their all.
Oh yeah, you have to as well because at the end of the day, you have to have fun with these things, and like as soon as you can kind of relax in these sorts of situations and think, there's no pressure. I definitely know this. Get it wrong. It's like, well, I thought I knew it. And I love that sort of concept as well because there are a lot of things. I feel like there has to be a word for this where you hear a question and it's like some kind of familiarity that kind of clicks in your brain and you're like, I know this, but then as soon as you hear the answer, you're like, okay, that's definitely nowhere near what I was thinking. But you are thinking because there is some kind of, there has to be a word for that. But I love that, and I think that's kind of very common with quizzes in general and like trivia shows. I know if I ever watch a trivia show with, do you guys have The Chase in the United States?
Yes. Yeah. I think there's a US version. Yeah.
There is. Yeah. So I know, for example, if I'm ever watching The Chase with my wife and like there's like the quick fire round, the cash builder round, I will, with all the confidence in the world, along with the TV, answer all these questions as if I know them, and I'm like, okay, I maybe 3 out of 10, something like that, just with all the confidence in the world. Like, nope, totally wrong. Okay, I didn't know this.
Yeah, I mean, there is a difference between knowing them like sitting on your couch.
Yeah.
So, but my warning to you would be a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I know all the answers when I play Jeopardy, but then they come on the show. Now there's a timer ticking. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I might have my my sound effects set up through the Google here, but there's a timer ticking, like when you like real loud, and you may not be in the same scenario or the same situation where you're in the calm of your home, just thinking and listen to it. You're in front of the camera, in front of 2 other people who are battling you with a timer going, and I'm pressuring you and I'm asking you if you think that's correct. And then like all these other elements play into it to make you struggle on the simplest of questions.
Oh, for sure. Like, man, I can tell you, like, from personal experience, this was early January 2020. I actually auditioned for the chase in the
Okay.
UK, and oh my, this was before I had any online media presence or anything like that. Oh my god, it's like everything, and everything you just said there, like that they incorporate that into it. So people will be in one room doing one thing, and there's like maybe a group of like 30, 50 people or something like
Yeah.
that. And so people are in one room doing one thing, like some kind of like collaborative exercise, and then one at a time they'll take people out for like a 60-second trivia quick fire round. And I'm just like, but they have like a stop clock right in front of you, face. So I'm sitting like facing head on here, and they have the person like who's asking the questions like next to you there, and
Mhm.
then you got this clock in front of you, so you feel the pressure of the time.
Yeah.
And then one of the things was, okay, now give yourself a 60-second introduction on camera, like on the fly like that. And these are the things they don't tell you this going in. It's just like,
Yeah.
but I mean, it makes sense because it sort of is testament to how, what they're looking for as a production company or a studio. They want people who can present themselves on camera well, they can talk well, body language, etc., etc. Like, it is a nerve-wracking thing. I'd love to do it again now, like 5 years on, and just be like, I'm back and I'm
Yeah.
better than ever.
Yeah, now that you have a year of podcasting under your belt, you have all that experience hosting. You could call up 60 seconds of who you are. Probably a lot easier than you did back then.
I'd like to hope so. Anyway, I feel like I'd probably still choke at some point. Like, but
You're like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, there's no take twos here. Like, but
yeah.
whenever you do stuff I never knew, like, do you get people who are sort of in the same boat? They kind of come in, they think, oh yeah, it's just trivia, I could do this, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, got all these like sound effects, the whistles, the bells, and everything. Just yep.
Yeah, usually the smartest person doesn't win the game. And it's just a amazing feature of the game that like baseball, anybody could win on any given day. Like these are all talented people, they're all smart in their own way, but they're going to come across, about 30 questions that are going to rock their world. And the person who, you don't have to be the smartest person to win my trivia game. You can, so, and it's weird. One thing I found out that's weird is I write the shows in advance, even prior to knowing who's going to be booked for them.
Yeah.
I like to write a good show. So, but there are occasions, like probably one out of three shows, where somehow, some way, those like somebody is a nuclear physicist or something. They studied like biology. Like I studied biology, and all the questions that landed on their lap throughout the show were like, but they had like 5 biology questions in a row. It is so weird the way things work out like that sometimes, that you just can't plan for it. I don't do it on purpose,
Yeah.
but sometimes people just get lucky and they get 5 questions in their wheelhouse.
Oh, that's brilliant. Like, definitely stuff I never knew podcast. Definitely check that out, and it sounds like a lot of fun. I know I'll be tuning into that. Definitely, it's yeah, it's such a unique concept. I don't think you have too many podcasts like that out there, and ultimately the most important thing, you have fun doing it, and your guests do as well, and your fans and everything, and that's kind of the foundation of a good show. And like
Yeah.
the fact you've been doing it for 10 years kind of speaks volumes with that.
Yeah, well, I should say I do it for seasons. I call them seasons, and a
Mhm.
season is a length of time until I'm sick of doing it. So, if you look back, like the first 4 seasons were like 25 episodes, 20 episodes each. And then when we got to episode 100, we started doing it for television. So season 5 is like 75 episodes.
Wow.
It's so much more fun to do it now.
Yeah.
So probably we might be on season 5 forever.
Yeah. Season 5 just like, yeah, to be confirmed whenever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, they're all like different iterations of the show. Like the first season was mostly Blab, and then
Mhm.
like seasons 2 and 3, we're trying to find another platform to replace Blab. So we're using Google Hangouts, and appear in, and like all these other like rogue platforms. And eventually we got to the StreamYard era, and the StreamYard era turned into the TV era.
Oh, and the fact that you were able to get picked up by TV and do it for TV alone, like, it's probably something not a lot of people can say that they have been able to do with their podcast.
I get one of those little as seen on TV logos now next to my name. Yeah.
Even better, like, yeah, wear that like a badge of honor, like, for real.
Yeah. Yeah, this face was on TV. What do you think? What do you think?
Love it. Jeff, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on Behind the Camera with AndyGames. Thank you so much for your time. Just before we wrap things up, where can the listeners today find you?
Yeah, I'd love if you checked out my theater. It's Poduty, Poduty.com. Poduty.com. You can connect with me right there. There's a form if you have a question about doing a live show or a podcast, or you're traveling through the area, you want to see our event calendar. Check out our upcoming events, Poduty.com. Poduty.
Absolutely. Check that out. That is, honestly, as we've discussed then, the format, everything, it is just incredible for podcasters, for independent podcasters, people who want to grow, up and coming, everything like that. Honestly, I think you're doing incredible work with that. And honestly, I wish you all the best for the future.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. This has been a blast.
No, thank you so much for your time, Jeff. And there you have it. That was my conversation with Jeff Revilla. It was amazing to sit down with someone with such an insight into the world of podcasting and with the unique concept of Poduty, something that I only wish existed here in the UK. If you are an aspiring podcaster in the Pennsylvania area, definitely make sure to check out Poduty. The lengths they go to look after their clientele is absolutely incredible. And also, be sure to check out the Stuff I Never Knew podcast. Very entertaining, very well put together. Honestly, very good podcast. As always, this has been Behind the Camera with AndyGames. I've been your host, AndyGames. Any and all likes, shares, follows, subscriptions, etc. on all platforms are hugely appreciated. We will be back with another installment of Behind the Camera with AndyGames next week, but until then, peace.